At the reading of my father's will, my brother stood up, slammed the table and shouted, "This is bullshit. I took care of him. My father left me the house, the savings, and his watch collection. My brother got $5 and a letter. For every lie you told about me, here's $1 less." He stormed out, came back a week later with a lawyer, and accused me of forging the will. But he forgot one thing. Dad's voice memo saved in my phone, saying everything word for word. When my dad passed away last fall, I thought the worst pain was over. I had spent the last 2 years of my life taking care of him, hospital visits, surgeries, late nights changing his bedding when he was too weak to move. But I was wrong. The real pain came later at the reading of the will. It happened in a dusty old lawyer's office on the edge of Akron, Ohio. The building looked like it hadn't been updated since 1985. Mr. Chandler, Dad's lawyer, was a quiet, older man who smelled like coffee and mothballs. I sat across from my brother Kyle, who showed up 20 minutes late wearing jeans, sunglasses, and a leather jacket like he was too cool to care. He barely nodded at me. I didn't care. I hadn't spoken to him much in the past year anyway. He'd visit Dad once in a blue moon, act like he was doing us a favor, then disappear again. Meanwhile, I had given up my apartment, my job, and most of my friends to be there every day. Mr. Chandler cleared his throat and opened the file. "This is the last will and testament of Martin Davis," he said. "Dated 8 months ago." Kyle leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, that smug grin on his face. I could see it plain as day. He thought he was about to cash in. Thought he was getting everything because he was Dad's favorite. Mr. Chandler read, "To my son Matthew, I leave my house, my savings, and my watch collection." Kyle sat up straight. His mouth opened, then closed. I just stared at the table, my heart pounding. "And to my son Kyle," Mr. Chandler continued, "I leave $5 and a letter. For every lie you told about me, here's $1 less." The room went dead silent. Then Kyle lost it. He slammed his fists down so hard the table shuddered. "This is bullsh*t, he screamed. "I took care of him. This is a lie." Mr. Chandler didn't flinch. "Please, Mr. Davis. Contain yourself." Kyle shoved his chair back and stormed out, knocking over a small table on his way out the door. I just sat there, feeling empty. I knew he was angry. I expected him to throw a tantrum. What I didn't expect was what happened a week later. He showed up at my doorstep with a manila envelope and a smug look. Inside was a court summons. Kyle was suing me, claiming I had forged Dad's will. He even got some sleazy lawyer to represent him. They were saying the signature on the will was fake, that Dad had been under duress, that there were inconsistencies. It would have been terrifying if I didn't have something they didn't know about. The night before Dad died, he called me into his room. He was so weak he could barely lift his head. He whispered, "Matt, get your phone." I thought he wanted to call someone, maybe my aunt. But no. He told me to record him. And he spoke. Clear as day, even through the pain. He said everything he wanted in his will. The house. The money, the watches, $5 to Kyle, the reason why, the lies, the betrayal, the disappointments. At the end, he said, "I know Kyle will fight this. He always fights when he's wrong. I trust you, Matt. Don't let him win." I hadn't listened to it since. It hurt too much. But when I got that summons, I charged up my phone and made sure the file was ready. The day of the hearing, Kyle walked in looking like he was going to church. Clean haircut, new suit, crocodile tears ready to go. His lawyer did most of the talking, painting Kyle as the perfect son, accusing me of manipulating a dying man. They had experts lined up to say the will was suspicious. Kyle even faked wiping his eyes a few times. When it was my turn, I stood up. My hands were sweating, but I looked Kyle straight in the face when I said, "I have a recording of my father stating his wishes, recorded voluntarily the night before he passed." You could hear a pin drop. The judge asked to hear it immediately. I connected my phone to the courtroom speakers, and there was Dad's voice. Old, tired, but still strong. Saying every word. Naming every item. Explaining why Kyle wasn't getting anything. When Dad said, "I trust you, Matt," I almost lost it. I didn't cry, but Kyle looked like he might vomit. His lawyer tried to object, said the recording was inadmissible, but the judge shut that down fast. "Sounds voluntary and clear to me," the judge said. "Mr. Davis, would you like to explain this discrepancy?" Kyle couldn't. He mumbled. He stammered. He shrank right there in that courtroom. The judge threw out the case in less than 20 minutes. If anything, Kyle was lucky he didn't get charged for filing a false claim. Afterward, he tried to corner me in the parking lot. "You think you're better than me?" he hissed. "You think you deserve it?" I didn't even answer. I just walked past him, got in my car, and left him standing there, seething. Since then, Kyle's life has fallen apart. His girlfriend dumped him. His boss demoted him when he heard about the lawsuit. His friends stopped picking up his calls. Meanwhile, I stayed in Dad's house. I fixed it up, kept it clean just like he would have wanted. Every Sunday, I take one of Dad's old watches out of the case, polish it, and wear it for the day. Sometimes I sit on the back porch, play that voice memo, and just listen. Because that recording isn't just Dad's will. It's his final act of trust in me. And it's the proof that no matter how many lies Kyle told, truth still won in the end. For a few months after the court threw out the case, things were quiet. I focused on fixing up the house. Repairing the old deck out back, repainting the garage, clearing out Dad's old workshop. It felt good. Like I was building something out of all the wreckage Kyle had left behind. But of course, Kyle couldn't let it go. He started small. First, there were the phone calls. Late at night. Blocked numbers. I'd answer and hear nothing but breathing. Other times it was Kyle's voice, low and hateful. "You don't deserve sh*t," he'd whisper before hanging up. I ignored it at first. Let it roll off me. But then the letters started. Handwritten notes stuffed into my mailbox, no postage, no return address. "You stole everything. Rot in hell. You're nothing without me." The worst one came a few weeks later. A Polaroid picture, my car, parked outside the house. Underneath it, just 4 words scribbled in sharp, ugly handwriting. "You're not safe, Matt." That was the moment I knew this wasn't just bitterness. Kyle was losing control. I went to the police. Filed a report. They told me to install cameras around the house, so I did, every corner, every entrance, every window. I also changed all the locks, reinforced the doors, and made sure every neighbor on the street had my number in case anything looked suspicious. For a while, it worked. No more letters. No more phone calls. No more threats. Until one night, about 2 months later. It was late, after midnight. I had just gotten into bed when I heard it. A scraping noise from outside. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept next to my bed and moved quietly to the window. There he was. Kyle, crouched by the side of the house, wearing all black, messing with the basement window. I called the police immediately, whispering into the phone, heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. Kyle managed to pop the window open and slip inside. I could hear him moving through the house, slow and clumsy. He thought I was asleep. The cops showed up in under 5 minutes. Flashing lights lit up the street. Neighbors' porch lights snapped on. Dogs started barking. They caught Kyle coming up the basement stairs. He tried to run. They tackled him on the front lawn. I watched from the front window, breathing hard, still clutching the bat like a lifeline. The cops cuffed him right there in the grass, mud staining his clothes. He was screaming the whole time. "It's mine. That house is mine. He stole it. He stole everything." It took 3 officers to get him into the cruiser. Kyle was charged with attempted burglary, trespassing, harassment, and violating a restraining order because by then I had gotten one. When I went to court to testify against him again, he didn't even look at me. Just sat there in an orange jumpsuit, eyes red, face hollow. He looked like a ghost of the brother I used to know. The judge didn't hold back. Gave him 6 months in jail, 3 years probation after that. Warned him that if he came near me again, it would be federal time. I thought that would finally be the end of it. I was wrong. Again. While Kyle was locked up, something even worse started happening. Someone began calling the bank where Dad's savings had been transferred to my account. Trying to pose as me. Trying to steal the money. The bank flagged it. Called me immediately. They played me the recordings. And it was Kyle's voice, clear as day. He was trying to drain the last thing Dad had left me. At that point, I realized something. This wasn't about the money. It wasn't even about the house. It was about me. Kyle couldn't stand that Dad trusted me, loved me, and left everything to me. He couldn't stand that for once he wasn't the favorite. I wasn't just fighting for my inheritance anymore. I was fighting for my future, for my peace, for my right to live without looking over my shoulder. And I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to lose. Not to Kyle. Not after everything. After the bank incident, I thought it couldn't get any worse. But it did. 3 weeks after Kyle's release, I came home from work one evening and found a strange car parked in my driveway. It was a beat-up silver Honda with tinted windows. I didn't recognize it. Didn't see anyone inside. At first, I thought it might just be someone turning around. But when I pulled into the driveway, the Honda backed out fast and sped down the street. I had a bad feeling right away. When I went inside, the house felt wrong. Nothing was broken. Nothing was missing. But something was off. I walked through every room with my heart pounding. And that's when I saw it. On the kitchen table. A photo. It was a picture of Dad. One I'd never seen before. Dad was standing in front of the old family cabin we used to visit when we were kids. Smiling. Written across it in red marker were the words, "He should have picked me." I stood there staring at it for a long time. Felt like a punch to the gut. That night I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. I ended up sitting on the couch with the lights on, baseball bat across my lap, just waiting. The next morning, I went straight to the police station. I gave them the photo, the plate number I caught from the Honda. They took it seriously this time. Said they'd put a patrol near my house for a few weeks. But deep down, I knew Kyle wasn't going to stop. Not until he burned everything to the ground. Sure enough, 2 nights later, the real attack came. I had just finished washing the dinner dishes when I heard the crash. Glass shattering at the back of the house. I ran toward the noise and saw Kyle, halfway through the broken sliding door, a crazed look in his eyes. He wasn't even trying to be sneaky anymore. He was wild, desperate. He lunged at me. I swung the bat without thinking. Caught him in the side. He grunted but kept coming, grabbing at me, trying to wrestle me to the ground. We struggled. Fought like animals. Years of resentment and hatred boiling over in that living room. Somewhere in the fight, I managed to grab my phone and hit the emergency button. The dispatcher stayed on the line, listening as I fought to keep Kyle away from me. Finally, sirens filled the air. Flashing lights lit up the night again. And this time, the cops kicked the door in themselves. Kyle was dragged off me, handcuffed on the floor, screaming like a madman. "It's mine. It was supposed to be mine. He stole it all. I'm the good son." Neighbors gathered outside in their pajamas, watching in shock as Kyle was shoved into the back of a cruiser again. But this time, it was different. This time, they charged him with felony breaking and entering, aggravated assault, and violation of probation. No more slaps on the wrist. No more probation. The judge didn't even offer him bail. Straight to jail, pending trial. Sitting in the courtroom weeks later, watching Kyle be led away in shackles, I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt empty. Tired. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. We were brothers once. Now we were enemies, locked in a war Dad never wanted, over things Kyle had already lost long ago. And the worst part? Even with Kyle behind bars, it still wasn't over. Because just as the trial wrapped up, I got a call from Mr. Chandler, Dad's old lawyer. He sounded nervous. Said something had come up. Something in Dad's files he had missed. Something about the cabin in the woods, the one from the photo. The one we hadn't been to in over 15 years. Apparently, Dad had left me a second letter. Hidden away. One that might explain everything or tear everything apart all over again. I had to go find it. Alone. And God only knew what Kyle already knew about it. I didn't waste time. The same day Mr. Chandler called, I packed up my truck and drove straight to the cabin. It was about 3 hours outside Akron, deep in the woods near an old town called Salem. We hadn't been there since Mom was alive. After she died, Dad couldn't bring himself to go back. I remember the way though. Every curve of the dirt road. Every crooked tree. The cabin looked worse than I expected, windows boarded up, roof sagging. But it was still standing. I pushed the door open and the smell hit me. Old wood, dust, and something else. Something sour. I stepped inside carefully. It felt like stepping into a graveyard. Everything was just as we left it. 2 old sleeping bags in the corner. Rusty pans on the stove. A broken picture frame on the floor. I spent hours searching. Pulled up floorboards. Checked inside every drawer, every closet. Nothing. Until I found the loose panel under Dad's old armchair. I pried it open with a crowbar. Inside, wrapped in a plastic bag, was an envelope. My name written on the front in Dad's shaky handwriting. Hands shaking, I tore it open. The letter inside was short. Matt, if you're reading this, it means the worst has happened. I didn't want to burden you with more, but you deserve to know the truth. The house, the savings, they are yours. But there's something else. I found out Kyle was stealing from me long before I got sick. Bank accounts, credit cards. He forged my name more than once. I covered it up to protect him, but I was wrong. I left evidence here, copies of everything. Bank statements, letters, police reports I never filed. If he ever comes after you, use them. End it. I'm sorry, son. I should have stopped him sooner. I love you, Dad. I sat there for a long time holding that letter, feeling the anger build in my chest until it almost choked me. Dad had known all along. Kyle wasn't just lazy. He was a thief. He was a liar. He was everything Dad had been too heartbroken to admit out loud. I found the evidence exactly where Dad said it would be, a locked metal box buried under the floor. Everything Kyle had done. Proof beyond anything the courts could ignore. And I knew right then, this was my final move. When Kyle's sentencing came up, I handed the whole box over to the prosecutor. Laid it all out. No mercy. No second chances. When the judge read out the charges, Kyle's face went slack. It was like he finally understood he had lost. Not just the house. Not just the money. Everything. He was sentenced to 10 years. No chance of parole for at least 7. The courtroom was dead silent when the sentence dropped. Kyle tried to catch my eye as they dragged him away. I didn't look at him. I turned my back, just like he had turned his back on Dad. Afterward, standing alone outside the courthouse, I finally let myself feel everything. The sadness, the anger, the relief, and a heavy guilt too. Because deep down, I knew. Maybe I could have tried harder. Maybe I could have forgiven. Maybe. But Kyle made his choices. And I made mine. Dad trusted me to end it. And I did. Now, the house is quiet again. Safe. I still wear Dad's watches. Still polish them every Sunday. Still sit on the porch and listen to the old voice memo when the nights get too heavy. Sometimes, when the wind blows just right, I swear I can hear Dad's voice carried with it. Saying the same thing he said that night, I trust you, son. And for the first time in a long, long time, I believe him.